I spent 6 months working on her apartment. Every weekend night I was there, measuring, cutting, installing. I threw in over $47,000 of my own money, turning her dated 70s-style nightmare into a place that looked it belonged in a magazine. I knew she'd appreciate it, I thought. I was doing this for us, for our future. We'd only been together for about a year, but things were moving fast. She was a freelance graphic designer, doing her thing. I was a commercial construction manager. I thought we made a good team. I worked hard, she appreciated my efforts. At least that's what I told myself. She was always posting about how lucky she was to have a boyfriend who could make her dreams come true, tagging me in pictures, always with heart emojis. I didn't mind, I liked making her happy. But then, one night finished. The last piece of the custom wine rack was in place. The quartz counters gleamed under the new lighting. The bathroom was a work of art now, with a rainfall shower and a brand new vanity. She walked in, running her hand along the counter, her eyes scanning the room like she was seeing it for the first time. "This really boosted the value, huh?" she asked, smiling. "Yeah," I said, trying to keep the pride from my voice. "But I couldn't help it. Your place looks incredible." She nodded like she was agreeing with me. Then she sat down, and I felt the shift. "We need to talk," she said, and that tone, I knew that tone. My stomach dropped. I didn't know why, but I felt it in my gut. We sat down. She hit me with the classics, "It's not you, it's me. I need to focus on myself. I'm not ready for something serious." My heart was pounding. This wasn't how I saw it going. We had just talked about moving in together. Just last night we were making plans. "Is there someone else?" I asked, though I didn't want to hear the answer. "No," she said too quickly. "I just think we want different things." Her eyes wouldn't meet mine. I stood up. "Okay, hope you figure out what you want," I said, my voice tight. I started walking toward the door. I couldn't breathe, this wasn't happening. "Hey," she called after me. "Thanks for everything. The apartment looks incredible." I turned back. She was smiling, smirking actually. "Thanks for the value boost," she said, and that's when it clicked. 6 months. $47,000. All for nothing more than a value boost. I smiled back, "But it wasn't your welcome," I said, and walked out. I sat in my truck for a while, my hands shaking. I had been a contractor with benefits, that's all I was to her. Just a guy who fixed things and made them pretty. I made the calls the next morning. The apartment wasn't going to be hers for much longer. I met her about a year and a half ago, in the middle-night project at the office. She was quiet at first, her eyes scanning the space, always focused, always working. She had that creative energy, something I admired. I'm used to the chaos of construction management, dealing with budgets, schedules, the physical demands of the job. But when I saw her, I saw someone different. She wasn't about the chaos, she was in her vision, the big picture. It was refreshing. Things moved fast, faster than I thought possible. Within a few months, we were spending almost every day together. She had this way of making me feel like I was the only one that mattered, like I was part of her world. We'd stay up late talking about our future, about how we both dreamed of a place to call our own. She'd talk about growing her freelance business, about how she wanted to be more than just a graphic designer, how she wanted to build something bigger. I believed her. I was all in. But somewhere along the way, things started to feel off. Low Kings, her offhand comments. "You know, if I had more money, I could really make something out of my business." Or the time she laughed when I mentioned needing to save for future. "You're broke, remember?" I should have taken it as a red flag, but I didn't. I ignored it, chalking it up to her being overwhelmed with work. Who judge? She was working hard for her dream, and I was working hard for mine. I started helping her out with her apartment when she complained about the condition it was in. She hated living there, constantly saying she couldn't have friends over because it like a dump. Her landlord had offered to lower her rent by $200 a month if she improved the place, and I thought it was a good opportunity. I was already working in construction management, so why not? I offered to help. I figured it was a way to show her I cared, to give her a nice, comfortable space she could enjoy. She was hesitant at first, saying she didn't want me to spend money on her place. But I pushed back, telling her I didn't mind. I was doing it because I cared about her, not because I expected anything in return. At least that's what I told myself. The project started small, a coat of paint here, a new light fixture there, but couldn't snowballed. I couldn't stop myself. The idea of making her space perfect took over. It was like I couldn't help but pour my energy into this place, her place. I built custom cabinets, put in a designer backsplash in the kitchen, replaced the floors with engineered hardwood. The bathroom was done completely. I put in a rainfall showerhead, a new vanity, even a small tub. I replaced every light fixture with something sleek and modern, custom shelving everywhere. Everything I touched was meant to be an upgrade. By the time I was finished, the place was a different world, better than some luxury apartments I had worked on. I spent every evening and weekend working on it, and I don't regret the work itself. It was the time, the energy, the money that was being poured in. It was everything. I thought she'd see that, see the sacrifice, the love that went into making her apartment something beautiful. And yet, as I was putting the final touches on the kitchen, I started to feel the weight of my own investment. It wasn't just money anymore. It was my time, my effort, my dreams tied up in this apartment. My heart was in it. I wasn't just doing this for her, I was doing it for us, for the future we'd talked about. But the more I worked, the more I began to notice the small things, the littlest that she wasn't invested as I was. She'd be too busy with work to help, too tired to even tout a thing other than her projects. She always had an excuse. I'm saving up for my business. She'd say, I'll pay you back eventually. But eventually never came. I kept telling myself it didn't matter. This was about her future. I wasn't expecting repayment. This was something we were building together. Or so I thought. When I finished the final touches, I stepped back, wiped hands, and admired the space. It was beautiful. It was the kind of place I'd always dreamed of living in myself. I had built it with my own 2 hands, with everything I had. And she was going to see that. She was going to appreciate it. But that wasn't the moment I got. Instead, she walked in, ran her hand along the counter, and looked at me like she was inspecting something she wasn't sure she wanted to keep. This really boosted the value, huh? She asked. And in that moment it hit me. It wasn't about the apartment anymore. It wasn't about us. She wasn't grateful. She wasn't even seeing what I had sacrificed. All she cared about was how much value it had added. I smiled back. Yet it looks incredible. But inside, something broke. I was done. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong, but I didn't want to admit it to myself. I spent so much time, so much money on this apartment, and for what? For her to turn around and give me that smirk and call it a value boost. It didn't make sense. But it did make sense in a way. It wasn't about me or what I had done for her. It was about what she could get out of me. That's when the pieces started falling into place. Over the next few days, I tried to avoid thinking about it. I threw myself into work, but the nagging thoughts wouldn't leave. I had been the one to make everything perfect, to give her everything she asked for, and she didn't even appreciate it. She didn't even try to hide that it was all a transaction to her. The more I thought about it, the angrier I got. I was pissed just at her but at myself. I had let it go on this long. I let her use me. Then I thought about the times she'd complained about being broke. The way she brushed off my questions about the money she said she would pay me back. The way she conveniently avoided talking about our future, even when we were making plans to move in together. She was saving for her business, but never once had she thought about paying me back for all I had done. She had used me for free labor, and in the end, she just discarded me when I had no more to give. I should have seen it before. The warning signs were there. The way she never truly invested in our relationship. The way she was always so distant when it came to anything serious. But I'd been too blinded by my feelings for her. I wanted to believe she was the one, that we had a future together. I wanted to believe that all the sacrifices I made were worth it. But now I saw it for what it was. I had been nothing more than a resource to her. She had used me to upgrade her life, and once she got what she wanted, she tossed me aside. I had been a stepping stone, nothing more. And the worst part, I let her do it. I sat in my truck one night, staring at my phone, going through the messages we'd exchanged. Her saying, I'll pay you back soon, and I'm saving up for my business. All empty promises. I realized she had been stringing me along, pretending to care, pretending that we had a future. It was all lies. That's when it hit me. I had to do something. I couldn't just let this go. I couldn't let her get away with it. She had taken so much from me, emotionally and financially, and now she was just going to walk away unscathed. No, I wasn't going to let that happen. I had the receipts, the photos from every step of the renovation. I had everything I needed to prove that she had never paid for a single thing. All of the work I'd done, all of the money I'd spent, it was mine. And I wasn't going to let her keep it. The plan started to form in my mind. I would take back I had put into that apartment. The cabinets I built with my hands, the countertops, the custom shelving, the appliances I had installed. I was going to take it all. I wasn't just going to walk away and let her have it. No. She wasn't going to keep what she hadn't paid for. It was about revenge. It was about making things right. I wasn't going to let her get away with using me. I wasn't going to let her walk off into the sunset with everything I had given her. She had played a game, and now I was going to play it better. The next morning, I made the calls. I wasn't wasting any time. It was happening. I was going to get what was mine, and I was going to make sure she knew that there were consequences for treating people like I was just some tool to be used. The game was over. I showed up the next morning, earlier than I'd planned, but I couldn't waste any time. I had a crew with me, 3 guys who were ready to help me take everything I'd installed. We'd already mapped out the plan the night before. We were going to strip that apartment down to the bare, turn it to exactly what it was when I first laid eyes on it. I had every right to do it, and now that the decision was made, there was no turning back. She was out with her friends, brunching or whatever, so we had the window we needed. I walked in, the key still in my pocket from when I'd helped her with the paperwork. It felt like a lifetime ago, back when I thought I was this for the both of us. The space had always been hers, but everything inside it had been mine. The labor, the materials, the effort. It was mine, and I was taking it back. We started with the kitchen cabinet doors off the hinges first, the custom shelves next. The quartz countertops came up easily, just like I had planned. Everything was labeled, documented, photographed, proof that this wasn't theft. This was me vandalism. This was me taking back my property work, my hard work, my money. By the time we hit the bathroom, the apartment was already like a shell of what it had been. We ripped out the vanity, the beautiful rainfall shower I'd installed with care, replaced it with the old, cracked tiles and the dingy sink. The toilet, that brand new toilet I had personally chosen, came out, too, and we swapped it with the original one that looked at the lawn in a horror film. As we moved through the apartment, I could feel something inside me shifting. It wasn't anger anymore. It wasn't revenge either. It was closure. I was closing the door on everything that had gone wrong between us. Everything I had poured into that place, into her. It was all coming out, piece by piece. I wasn't the fool anymore. I wasn't the guy who was going to be left holding the bag. We took down every light fixture, unscrewed every outlet cover, even took down the fancy designer backsplash I had installed piece by piece. Everything went back to the way it was when I'd first seen it, dull, worn, and cheap. And it felt guilt right. When we finished, I took a step back, looked around. The place was barely recognizable now. The gleaming floors, built cabinets, the upgraded bathroom gone. In their place was the sad, outdated space she had started with. It was like nothing had changed at all. I left a note on the original counter, the one where I had installed the custom wine rack just a few days before. It read, "Came to collect my property. Everything I purchased and installed has been removed. The apartment is back to its original condition. Good luck focusing on yourself." I signed it, grabbed the key, and walked out. We loaded everything into my truck, and by the time we were done, there wasn't a trace of my work left in that place. It was like I had never been there at all. I didn't feel anything at first. No satisfaction, no anger, just calm. I knew what I had to do and I had done it. It wasn't perfect, but it was necessary. We drove back to my place. I parked the truck in the driveway, looked at the pile of cabinets and countertops in the back. It felt good knowing that I was going to make that money back. The plan was already taking shape. I was going to sell everything, make back some of what I'd lost. My phone started blowing up, but I ignored it. I needed space. I needed to think. I grabbed a beer from the fridge, walked outside, and sat down in the quiet of the afternoon. For the first time in days, I felt like I could breathe. The phone kept ringing, but I didn't pick up. Let her try to call, let her scream, threaten, beg, it didn't matter anymore. I had done what I needed to do. I had taken back my dignity, my work, and my peace of mind, and now I was done. The next few hours were blur. I barely heard the phone ringing, the constant stream of notifications flooding in. She called from different numbers, her friends' phones, some random ones I didn't recognize. I let it all go straight to voicemail. The storm had passed, But I knew she wouldn't let it go so easily. That was the thing about people like her. They don't like when their game is interrupted. They think they can play by their own rules, and when you fit the script, they get mad. I sat in the garage for a while, staring at the cabinet sinks, the flooring stacked neatly in my truck. It wasn't enough. No, I needed to make sure she understood. This wasn't just a petty act of revenge. It was about Prince, and had worked hard for that apartment, harder than she would ever know. I had given her everything I had. She had used me, no doubt about that. She had never once given back. Not financially, not emotionally. She'd just taken like it was her right. And the moment I had nothing left to give, she tossed me aside like it didn't even matter. But I wasn't going to let her win. I wasn't going to let her walk away with all the benefits she got from my labor and my money. No, I wasn't done yet. I still had one more thing to do. I went over the details in my mind. The receipts for everything, the photos of me installing every appliance, every countertop, every cabinet. The texts between us where she made it clear I was paying for everything, where she promised to pay me back but never did. I had everything I needed. I wasn't going to let her walk away without consequences, not after everything I had given her. I made the call to my lawyer. I wasn't taking any chances. I wasn't going to let her turn this into something it wasn't. I explained everything, how I had helped her, how I had documented every step of the renovations, how she had never once paid me a dime for any of it. I had the receipts to prove I was in the right. This was my property. I had a legal claim to it. When my lawyer confirmed everything I had done was legally sound, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. I wasn't breaking any laws. This wasn't theft. This wasn't even a gray area. I have every right to remove what was mine. I wasn't going to let her manipulate the situation. Later that afternoon, I finally checked my messages. My ex had left me a voicemail. I couldn't help myself but listen to it. She was furious, accusing me of being cruel, of stealing from her. She claimed I had ruined everything and left her with nothing. The thing was, she had everything she needed. She had the original appliances, the old flooring, the same bathroom she had lived with before came into the picture. Nothing had changed for her. She was just upset because she couldn't profit off of me anymore. It was laughable, really. She had the audacity to call me cruel, to accuse me of taking what was rightfully mine. The nerve. The next day her lawyer called mine. I listened as my lawyer explained the situation. She was threatening to sue me for vandalizing the apartment, claiming I had stolen fixtures that were part of the property. But my lawyer was calm, collected. He had all the proof he needed. The receipts, the photos, the signed documents from the landlord, everything backed up my side. She had nothing. I didn't even have to respond. My lawyer handled it, and within hours, her lawyer stopped calling. She had no case. And as far as I'd concerned, that was the end of it. But it wasn't. A few days later, her best friend showed up at my work. I was in the middle of a meeting when she walked in, barging past reception like she had some kind of right to be there. She found me, waiting by my office door. "You need to fix this," she said, crossing her arms over her chest. "Fix what?" I asked, my voice steady. I knew where this was going. She's living in a construction zone. No bathroom, no kitchen. You can't just leave someone like that. Was livable 18 months ago, I said, keeping my tone cool. And she can figure it out, not my problem. Her best friend stepped closer, trying to be all intimidating. "You're giving back the appliances at least. The basics." "It's basic human decency." I shook my head. Human decency would then her not using me for 6 months, and then throwing me out the second I was done. Tell her to buy her own toilet. She didn't say anything after that. She just glared at me. I watched her leave fuming, knowing she wouldn't win. I didn't owe any of them anything, not anymore. Later, my ex's mom called. Her voice was shaky, full of emotion. She said I was taking things too far. That I was punishing her daughter for being honest about her feelings. Her daughter had used me. She wasn't being honest, she was using me for free labor. The irony was almost too much to bear. I told her I wasn't punishing anyone. I was just taking back what was mine. I wasn't going to let her use me. I wasn't going to let her get away with treating me like a tool. I wasn't heartless. I was logical. When I hung up, I blocked the number. I wasn't to engage with any of them anymore. I had done what I needed to do. Now it was over. I could feel the tension in my chest, the slow build up of something bigger than just this situation. I wasn't angry anymore. But I sure as hell wasn't going to let her get away with playing me. I had taken everything I'd installed, all of it, and now it was time to face her. I knew what was coming next, but I wasn't going to back down. It didn't take long for her to find out. She'd been out with her friends when we finished clearing out the place. I knew the moment she walked back into that apartment, her world would come crashing down. I almost felt bad for her, but then I remembered that smirk, the way she had thanked me for the value boost like it was some kind of game. I wasn't her fool anymore. The phone rang later that afternoon. It was her. No surprise there. She left a voicemail. I didn't bother to listen to it right away, but I knew what it would say. She was probably furious, blaming me for everything. But I care, she had no right to be angry. She'd treated me like I was disposable. Like everything I did was nothing more than a service she could then toss aside. I didn't hear from her again until that evening. She showed up at my door, red-faced, eyes wide with disbelief. She was shaking, the way people do when they're caught off guard. But she didn't even give me a chance to speak before launching into her tirade. "What the hell did you do?" she screamed. "Where's everything? You can't just take it, it's mine." I didn't flinch. "It was never yours. You didn't pay for a single thing in that apartment. It was all mine, and I took it back. You can't just take back gifts." She spat, her voice rising with every word. "You can't just steal from me like that." "I didn't steal anything," I said calmly. "You made it very clear what this was. A transaction. You for 6 months, and now I'm taking back what's mine. That's how it works." Her face went red with rage. "You're insane," she said, stepping closer. "This is theft. I'm calling the cops." "Go ahead," I replied, my voice steady. "I'll show them the receipts. The photos, the signed paperwork from your landlord. Everything is documented. I'm in the right, and you know it." Her eyes flickered for a moment, doubt creeping into her expression. But she wasn't ready to give up the fight yet. "You can't just leave me with nothing. You can't do this." I shrugged, uninterested in her panic. "You have everything you had before. The original appliances, the old floors, the same bathroom. Nothing's changed for you." She opened her mouth to argue, but the words got stuck. There was nothing left to say. She knew she was losing this battle, and she didn't like it. "Don't call me again," I said, my voice final. "I'm done." She stood there, trembling with rage, and I could see the shift in her eyes, the realization that she had been caught. That this wasn't some petty revenge. This was me standing up for myself, for everything I'd sacrificed. She turned and left, slamming the door behind her. The sound echoed through the apartment, but I didn't flinch. I had done what needed to be done. The next moment, my phone buzzed with another message from her, this time from a new number. I didn't even read it. Instead, I focused on what I had ahead. I wasn't going to waste my time here anymore. I had already taken back what was mine, and I wasn't looking back. By the end of the week, I had everything I needed: documentation, proof, and the satisfaction of knowing I had taken control of the situation. She had no case. There was nothing left for her to fight with. The legal battle was over before it had even begun, but that didn't mean she was done. No, not by a long shot. She had started a new campaign, this time, using social media to twist the story in her favor. She posted about financial abuse and how controlling I was, leaving out every detail that would make her look bad. It was a calculated attempt to smear me, to make me look like the villain in this story. I could feel my blood start to boil, but I didn't react. Instead, I focused on the evidence I had, the legal documents that proved she was lying. I didn't need to engage. The truth was already out there. I didn't know what was coming next, but I knew I was ready. She had made her choice, and now she was going to face the consequences. I had made mine too. I wasn't going to let anyone walk all over me again. A few days passed, and things started to quiet down. The phone calls from Mike stopped, but I knew this wasn't over. I had seen the way she operated. She wasn't going to just let it go. Her sense of entitlement was too strong, and I knew she'd try to drag me back into her drama, one way or another, and I was right. It started with a letter. Her lawyer's letter. My lawyer called me as soon as it arrived in the mail. "They're claiming you vandalized the apartment," he said. "They're demanding that you return the fixtures and pay for emotional distress. The total comes to $47,000 for the renovations plus an extra $5,000 for the emotional toll they're claiming." I wasn't surprised. After everything that had happened, I expected her to pull something like this. She was trying to turn the situation into a money grab, to paint me as the villain for simply taking back what was mine. I'd spent a long time preparing for this. My lawyer and I had been ready for her next move, and this is it will respond, my lawyer said, calm as always. "We have receipts for everything. Documentation from the landlord. Photos. Text messages. There's no way they can win this. It was a relief to hear that. I knew the truth was on my side, but I wasn't naive enough to think it would be easy. I didn't expect her to back down after the first threat. This was going to get messy, but I was ready for it. The next few days were a blur of emails and phone calls. Her lawyer tried to push back, trying to make me believe they had a case. I just kept sending the evidence, everything I had, every receipt, every photo of me installing everything in that apartment. All the texts where she had clearly acknowledged I was paying for it all. Each time, my lawyer shot them down with a simple reply. We have proof that everything was paid for by my client. You're wasting your time. But my ex wasn't going to stop. It was clear now she wasn't looking for justice. She was looking for a way to make me pay. She wanted to make me feel guilty for standing up for myself. And she wasn't going to get that. The real turning point came when my ex's best friend showed up at my work. I was wrapping up a meeting with a contractor when I saw her standing in the lobby, looking like she owned the place. She had always been a bit of a wild card, but I didn't expect her to take things this far. She made it clear that she didn't think I was in the right, but this was something else. Max, she said, stepping into my office without permission. You need to fix this. She's living in a disaster. You can't just leave her like that. I didn't even bother standing up. I already told her what I was doing. I said my voice is fine. She has what she had before. The original appliances, the old floors. Nothing changed for her. You're being unreasonable. She shot back, her arms crossed. You need to give her back at least the basics. The stove, the fridge, the toilet. That's all she needs. It's basic human decency. I looked her dead in the eye. Basic human decency would have been not using me for 6 months. Not throwing me out the moment I finished the work. Tell her to buy her own toilet. I'm done being her free contractor. She stood there for a moment, speechless. But she wasn't done. You can't just destroy her life like this. She trusted you. She did. I interrupted. She trusted me as long as I was useful to her. As soon as I wasn't, she threw me away. So no, I'm not helping her. She can help herself. The tension in the room was thick. I could see it in her eyes. She wanted to believe in her friend, to make me the villain of this story. But she had to know deep down that I was in the right. You're predict, she muttered before turning and walking out. The door slammed behind her, and for a moment, the office was silent again. I didn't let it bother me. I knew what I had to do. She could say whatever she wanted. I had the evidence. I had the right to take what I had taken. I wasn't going to back down. But things only escalated from there. A few hours later, my ex's mother called. She was emotional, speaking in that pleading, manipulative way that mother, I want you to feel guilty. She tried to make me feel like I was the one who had wronged her daughter, that I was destroying her life over a mistake. I listened but I didn't say much. What was there to say? I'd already explained myself. She had used me. I had given her everything, and when she tossed me aside without a second thought. And now, I was taking back what was mine. I'm not being unreasonable, I told her. I'm not punishing her. I'm taking back what I paid for. She doesn't get to keep it. If she wants those things, she needs to buy them. Her mother begged me to reconsider. Tried to guilt-trip me by saying things like she's been through so much. She made a mistake. But I wasn't buying it. I wasn't the one who had made a mistake. I hung up, and I blocked the number. It felt like everything was spiraling out of control. But I knew what I had done. I had taken back my dignity, and that was something I wasn't going to lose. A few days later, I got a call from my lawyer. The court was ready to move forward with the case. The ex had filed a police report claiming I had broken and stolen the renovations. She was trying to say I had no right to take anything back. But that was all smoke and mirrors. The evidence was clear. I had all the documentation I needed, and I wasn't going to back down. The days stretched into weeks. But I didn't feel the weight of the battle anymore. It was over really before it even started. Her lawyer had sent their final demand. A desperate attempt to get me to pay her for the emotion she claimed I'd caused. They wanted money for stolen renovations, plus the plus of temporary housing because she couldn't live in her apartment. They even tacked on a $5,000 emotional distress fee. I didn't even have to look at the letter for more than a few seconds. My lawyer read it, laughed, and told me not to worry. You're golden, he said, before laying out all the paperwork in front of me. The receipts, the texts, the photos. The landlord signed documents. She has no case. We sent a response within hours. A simple, clear rejection. The true was on my side. Everything had been documented, down to the last detail. The renovations were mine, legally, financially, and morally. She had nothing. The calls from her lawyer stopped after that. The silence was deafening, and for a moment, I thought maybe it was finally over. But that's when the social media campaign started. My ex began posting about financial abuse and how controlling men take back gifts out of spite, making sure to leave my name out of it. Of course, everyone knew who she was talking about. Her posts were all carefully crafted, portraying herself as the victim of an unfair situation. She tagged me in one post, but I didn't bite. I didn't respond. Instead, I kept to my side of things. The truth had already been laid out. There was no need for me to stoop to her level. I didn't need to explain myself to anyone. It wasn't long before the post started backfiring on her. People began commenting, mutual friends, people who knew the truth. Screenshots of her texts where she thanked me for paying for everything started circulating. Photos she'd posted about how amazing her boyfriend was for doing all the renovations, when in reality, it had all been me, came to light. She deleted everything hours, but the damage was done. The truth was out, and no amount of social media manipulation could change that. The final blow came when her mother called again. This time it was a voicemail. She was crying, saying she knew her daughter had made a mistake, that I was destroying her life, that she had nowhere to go. She begged me to help her, to give her another chance. I listened to the voicemail. I felt nothing. Maybe I should have felt sympathy. Maybe I should have reached out to her and explained everything. But I didn't. I had already done my part. I had given her everything, my time, my energy, my money. And she had used it all, like it was nothing. I wasn't the one destroying her life. She was the one who had made the choice, and she had to live with the consequences. I didn't even respond. I blocked the number and moved on with my day. By the time I heard from the landlord again, I was already focused on my next steps. He called to let me know that she wasn't getting her lease renewed. She'd been withholding rent, claiming that the apartment is unlivable. The landlord wasn't having it. He had already filed for eviction. She was being forced to leave, and there wasn't a thing she could do about it. It felt good to know that she was getting what she deserved. She had taken advantage of me, used me, and when she thought she had squeezed everything, she carded me, she discarded me. But the universe has a funny way of balancing things out. After she left, I heard from a few of our mutual friends. Some of them had stuck by me, knowing the truth, while others had sided with her, calling me petty and vindictive. That's when I realized something. What I had done was self-respect. She had treated me like I was a resource, and when I stopped playing by her rules, she lost everything. The apartment, the relationship, the friends who had been too naive to see through her lies. As for me, I moved forward. I sold everything I'd taken from her apartment. Kitchen, quartz countertops, the Viking range, all of it. I made a decent chunk of change, but more importantly, I got something else in return. I got to move on. I took the thousand from the sale and put it into a property of my own, a fixer-upper. It wasn't a luxury apartment anymore, but it was mine. I was going to make it what I wanted it to be. I'd learned a lot from renovating her place, and now was applying those lessons to my own project. The future felt wide open. I knew I'd learned something valuable about people, about myself, about protecting what's mine. This wasn't a game anymore. It was about building something that I could call my own, something that wouldn't be used and thrown away when someone got bored of it. Eventually, I did start dating again, but I was smarter now. I wasn't the naive guy who would pour everything into someone who didn't care. I knew what I wanted, and I knew how to protect myself. As for my ex, I heard through the grapevine that she moved in with her boyfriend, but that didn't last long. Relationships built on lies don't have solid foundations. I heard she was back with her parents, but I didn't care. That chapter was over. She had played hand she had lost. As for me, I was building something new, something real. And it felt damn good.